Ladies, guys only want one thing, and that is to build an aesthetically pleasing Minecraft world. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my entire process in a live and unfiltered format about how I turned something like this into something that is aesthetically pleasing. Alright, so first and foremost, no shaders. No shaders, and she's still beautiful. So before we start working on this, I want to actually show you guys some of my other builds, just so I can kind of give you a generalized walkthrough about how I went about designing some of these things, and then we will go back and I'll show you how to actually do it in real time. You know, I've been playing on this world for about 2 years, and when I first started off, I didn't know anything about building, but over time I just kind of learned kind of like my style. So I think if you're somebody who's kind of struggling with finding a Minecraft sort of style or an aesthetic, you just have to start a world and just keep playing on it and keep practicing. So this is my cave. This is a cave that I use a lot for thumbnails and things. And currently I have shaders off just so you guys can see that you don't necessarily need shaders to build an aesthetic world. In fact, I would argue that no shaders gives the world kind of a better look and better feel. So as you can see here, most of my thumbnails take place in this world or in this section just because I feel like it looks so good on its own. And for the most part, this cave started off as just a very regular like stone cave, and I decided to add grass in here, and I decided to add cherry trees in here. And the number one tip I want to give you guys as far as making something more aesthetic is start off with a very basic idea. You don't need to decorate as you go. I would say start off with something very simple and then decorate after the fact. So for example, in this cave, all I did was I started off with grass, and then I started adding in half slabs to kind of, you know, make it a little pathway. And then I started adding in cherry trees because I like cherry trees. And then I started adding in amethyst. So it was very like step-by-step kind of process. And then, you know, I was like, okay, maybe the floor is kind of plain. So I came in here and I added the little cherry blossoms on the floor, as well as like azaleas and different kind of flowers that I found around the world. And that's kind of how this room came about. But you have to be patient with yourself. Don't try to rush things. Start off very simply and then come in and decorate after the fact. For me, it was so much easier to kind of realize that it's easier to decorate than it is to actually build something that looks good. So let's kind of come up over here to this village that I have, and I will show you guys kind of another sort of a much better example of how I go about building something that's aesthetically pleasing. But these buildings here, I feel like they look pretty good, but they're very, at the core of it, these village homes are really just 5x5 squares or 7x5 rectangles. And then I think to make something look aesthetically pleasing, you have to add a lot of depth to it. So you can see if we come in here, it's just a very basic kind of square, and I added an upstairs room and things like that. And to make the world or make the build more interesting, all I did was I added these walls and then slabs to give it kind of an entranceway. Texturing is a big thing, so having different types of blocks. If this build was totally just all stone, it wouldn't look nearly as good, so it's good to use different types of maybe wood with stone. Just give it a different kind of look. And this is another, I feel like as far as houses go, this one's a really nice looking one. You have the black stone corners and then deep slate and then deep cobblestone. So, you know, play around with different texturing, play around with depth, because as you can see, same kind of idea here with the walls and then slabs over it. And then I felt like the corner here looks kind of plain, so I did the same thing where I added walls instead of full blocks, and it makes the world, if I hop in free cam here, it makes the build look a lot more lively and a lot more interesting. So play around with depth and play around with different block palettes. Same with this one. I feel like this house looks really awesome, and actually if we come in here, this house has such a beautiful view of oh, maybe not, maybe it doesn't have a beautiful view. Okay, if we come up here, you can kind of see off in the distance I have a gatehouse, which is another example of starting off very simply and then decorating it after the fact. So if we head over there, This actually, okay, if I was to live in this village, I feel like this house would be the best because you have such a nice view of the centralized little well here, but that's yapping. Nick, quit yapping, babe. Tell him about how to build things aesthetically. Okay, and this pathway, another example of something that just is, it looks good, but it's really just a lot of decoration. That's how you make things look and give things a good kind of look. So how I always start off pathways is I come through with like a shovel and I'll kind of right click to get that like the actual pathway block like here. And I give myself like a rough little follow like guideline kind of thing. And then what I do is I come in with, well actually this is not even a good like example of a pathway. I'll show you guys a good example of that later. But my whole design philosophy is starting off with something that's very simple. So again, with this gatehouse, ignore the big ass house over there that's unfinished and looks ugly. We'll get to that later. So this gatehouse, 7x7 kind of square over here, and then a 5x5 square over here. And I find like for me, coming up with ideas is so much easier after I've actually started building something. So originally when I was building this gatehouse, this actual tower on this side was going to be the same as this one. It was just going to be a regular plain room. But as I was building it, I had the idea, oh, it'd be really cool if it was more overgrown. So I added kind of like leaves as vines growing over the side here and like mossy stone bricks to just kind of make the building look a lot more aged. But even though this build started off very simply, you can see as I came in here with different kind of blocks, it just gives it a little bit more texture. So with the windows here to give this like more of a more depth, I didn't want to actually build out from the building. So I added these upside down stairs, and that just, it makes the windows look a lot more interesting than if they were just plain. And if we come up here, I'm actually, okay, I'm gonna brag on myself a little bit because I actually really love how this build looks. And it was just such a simple idea. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this house over here where I'm actually gonna come in and decorate it a little bit better. Right now it's very blocky, but I love how this gatehouse turned out. And if you guys are wondering about these kind of stars that I have around the base, how I got this idea was originally, if you can see above my tower there, that's actually the Pleiades constellation, which is part of my zodiac sign, which is Taurus. And I thought it would be so fun to have like a constellation over the base. And I loved how that looked. And I was like, you know, it'd be really cool if I added that kind of effect around my pathway. So all this is just tinted glass with amethyst shards on either side of it. So let's come over here and I'll show you guys this unfinished kind of build just so you can get sort of a kind of a look at how I go about designing things. So with this build, lately I've been building things a lot more freeform, so I haven't really been building on a grid pattern like I did with that gatehouse. I've been building more of like just kind of going off of vibes. So very blocky kind of look here. The ceiling is on the wrong block. That's how you can tell how much I pay attention. So I have to undo the ceiling, but just very blocky. And then, you know, eventually when I do come back to this build, I'll add more depth and make it look a lot more interesting. But start off very simply and then come in and actually decorate it. That's how you're going to make things look a lot better. And it for me, it works with my creative kind of flow. So you can kind of see I did a little light kind of decoration here with these slabs around the edges, but I might get rid of that. Not a big fan of how that looks, to be honest, but that's a whole other thing. So same with kind of pathways here. If we kind of come over here, I'll show you a much better example of a pathway that I did that I think turned out, or it'll be easier for me to explain how I go about designing pathways. But like I was saying, having texture, thinking about things very simply, it makes it so much easier to build. So the way I kind of design pathways is it follows a very, like, kind of has like a formula to it. So if we come here, and I love the way this world looks at night, by the way, it looks so good. I'll probably turn shaders on here in a minute, but I did want to just show you guys that the world still looks good without shaders, but I'll turn them on for a little bit to give you a better example. So if we come here, how I was saying earlier with the shovel, I'll just come in and right click different, you know, pathway blocks to kind of give myself a rough little outline. And what I did was I actually cut out kind of where I wanted the pathway to be. And I started off with these stone slabs or stone bricks. And then what I would do is I would kind of like give it a little blotchy sort of look with the stone slabs. And then I would come in on the edges of that. I would add cobblestone or regular stone or podzol. And, you know, just starting off with a very basic kind of pathway shape and then decorating around that. That's why I feel like these pathways look as good as they do. It's just because there's a lot of depth. There's a lot of block usage and things. You can kind of see here, I started off with stone in the middle, cobblestone on the edges, and then gravel, and then dirt, and you know, just it makes the pathway look a lot more lively and a lot more visually interesting, and it gives it a nice kind of RPG sort of aesthetic. So if I come here and turn on shaders, which is the Solas shaders, and by the way, I have all of my mod list and everything in the description if you want to kind of create this look. But you can sort of see the game looks good regardless of if I have shaders on or not. But I always like to show off the fact that you don't need shaders to make something aesthetically pleasing. And for me personally, I always love watching world tours of like Xbox 360 worlds or PS3 worlds, because that game just has a certain type of charm that even the PC version doesn't necessarily have. So, you know, even if you don't have a super high-end computer or you only play on console, you don't need to have shaders to make something look good. Y'all get to see me do combat. Y'all think I can yap. Don't get him started on the combat. But yeah, as you can see, it's just, the shaders just kind of enhance something. It's not, I wouldn't say you necessarily need to rely on shaders to make something look good. It's always good to start off with a good base and then add shaders on. Okay, so with shaders on, I do kind of want to showcase some of the, you know, because for the most part, I did kind of design this world around this specific shader and specific resource pack. So although you don't necessarily need shaders to make a world look good, I think it's when you're developing your own kind of aesthetic or your own kind of style, find a texture pack that you really love. Find a shader that you really resonate with, or, you know, with or without shaders, regardless. Even if you don't have access to resource packs or you're just playing on plain vanilla Minecraft, I feel like you can still develop a style that fits your sort of theme. I feel like the default Minecraft resource pack is so it's plain enough that you can actually kind of build any sort of style that you want to, whereas this resource pack that I'm using now is more RPG focused. So I think finding a resource pack that you really love and theming your world around that is how you're going to make an aesthetic that's very unique. So I'm just going to kind of walk around a little bit and give you guys, I want to show you my cave again with shaders on this time, just so you can sort of see how everything kind of comes together. Think of shaders as sauce. You can't just have sauce on sauce. You have to have a little bit of substance underneath there. So as you can see, it just kind of gives the world more of a glow sort of look. But that's all I really wanted to show you guys as far as shaders go. Don't feel the need to have shaders on. In fact, I feel like having shaders off, having smooth lighting off, makes the game have just a certain type of charm that I personally really love and I really enjoy. Okay, so with all that being said, I'm going to sort of keep the building process more like, kind of, I don't really have notes for it. I'm just going to kind of be talking as I'm doing it. But I want to keep the tips more generalized because obviously not everybody is going to have the same sort of style as I do. I feel like you can really apply these sort of basic principles to any really style and you'll have fantastic results. So as you can see here, I absolutely love, I'm a night owl in person, so I feel like I love the Minecraft world at night because it has a different type of vibe for me. So this pathway is an example of sort of a pathway that I didn't do too well. Like I feel like this one doesn't look as amazing as the one that I sort of showed earlier. But same kind of process, blotching things out and then adding around them, decorating around it. So another thing too is I feel like if you're first starting off, it can be kind of discouraging to watch a lot of YouTube channels because, you know, there's some very talented YouTubers out there that make just the most beautiful builds of all time. And it can be kind of discouraging, especially if you're first starting off, because you might feel like you have to fit that kind of standard that people build to. But in reality, everybody starts off the same. Everybody starts off with a very like basic knowledge about the game. So don't feel the need to like want to rush your process. Everything starts off so slowly. When I first started off this world, I did not know how to build anything, and I'm like just now to the point where I feel comfortable enough to build freestanding kind of buildings like this. So this is the build that we're going to be kind of decorating today, and I'll be sharing my process about how I go about like designing things. So I did build this on camera, but the video just turned out like ass, so that's not getting uploaded. But the basic idea of this is I've had this hilltop here for literally a year, and I never did anything with it. You can see the building's not even 20% done, but there was a stone kind of outline, and what I did was I followed along that with the build here. And as you can see, I already started texturing it just a tiny bit. So I have the stone bricks going into cobblestone, and then I have the logs kind of as these sort of corner pieces. But really, it doesn't have to be logs. Really, it doesn't even have to be cobblestone or anything. That's just sort of the theme that I'm going for with this building. And my plan for this building is it's actually going to be a tavern. So I think this is kind of like a niche sort of tip, but I feel like giving your world kind of a storyline, or maybe like, I like to think of the world as like as if I'm playing Skyrim, so I kind of like to build like little scenarios. So if we hop in free cam and we come over here, you can kind of see I have this really big open space. This is you will slowly start to realize I have a reoccurring theme where I just clear things out and I don't do anything to them for the longest time. So my plan is I want to build maybe like a smaller kind of village over here, or maybe just a long kind of pathway into the woods over here. And then I'll slowly bridge over here. And this tavern, since I have a village like way down, like the village that we were at earlier, it's kind of way down in that direction. So I wanted to build this tavern kind of as like a rest stop, maybe if someone was traveling from the woods over there to the village. So that's kind of where I got the idea for this tavern. And again, like I was saying, giving yourself random projects is without a doubt the best way to find ideas. I know this is an aesthetics build like tutorial, but giving yourself random projects, coming up with stories for your world, that's how you're going to come up with a ton and just endless ideas, really. For me, it's so much easier to build something and then kind of come up with an idea off of that. Like for me, I come up with the most ideas when I'm actually taking action towards something. Okay, so I want to start off with the entranceway here. We kind of have this really tall sort of little thing here. And I'm going to do the roof last just because I need to actually get more planks for that. You can, something you'll soon realize is my world is totally unorganized. So to make this entranceway a little bit more interesting, I'm thinking let's add walls kind of on this corner here. And then up here, I'm thinking maybe a little bit of a balcony kind of sticking out. That'll make this flat kind of wall look a lot more interesting. So if we come over here and we get some more cobblestone, something like this. You know, very simple things. I think sometimes it can be very tempting to overthink this sort of stuff, but if we kind of come here, and I'm thinking we can even do like, I'm thinking, I'm just gonna kind of experiment around until I sort of find a thing that I kind of like the look of. So I think that looks kind of nice. I feel like the lanterns might kind of clutter this sort of look, but I definitely want stairs right there. I think, you know, playing with depth, playing with experience, like don't be afraid to experiment with builds. Don't be afraid to like build something and then change it up later. That was a problem I had when I was first starting off. I would get so, I would more or less, it's this principle called like paralysis by analysis, where you spend so much time thinking about something that you end up just not doing anything. So as I'm doing this, I might undo that, but that's kind of a basic idea. So you can see you have different levels of depth to everything. You have the walls here, this kind of overhang, and then you have these stairs kind of indenting inward. And I think right here, maybe instead of a balcony, I could do sort of a window sticking out. I think that'd be really cool. So let's hop in here. Oops. Hop in here. And as I'm building things, I tend to just kind of experiment with different ideas. I think that's how I come up with the most ideas, is just building, experimenting, undoing, redoing until I find the kind of look that I want to go for. So like I was saying, this is just very generalized kind of tips because I personally feel like everybody has a style. Don't feel the need to like copy my building style unless it's something that you really like. Build something that means something to you. I've mentioned this tip before, but I feel like to make your world feel really special, think of Minecraft as kind of like an art form, or maybe, there's this idea in art that you want to really make something that you feel. So for me, I'm in more of like a creative kind of mood, so I'm building things in this more free, like not so like structured kind of way, kind of like following the natural sort of shape of a mountain, for example. But build something that makes you feel a certain way. So like this kind of like really dark fantasy gothic kind of vibe here, I built this when I was in more of like a moody type of era. Same with that same with that tower. It's just really dark and like brooding, but it looks cool and it kind of reflects how I was feeling at the time. So I almost want the window to sort of stick out a single kind of block here. So I don't have any glass on me right now, but we can come back in and I can actually do that a little bit later. But yeah, for now, I think this is a good start, especially for like, oh, you know what? Maybe we can kind of come here. We need these to be upside down, so I think that'd be kind of cool. Have like a window above here, just to give it like a nice, cool little look here. So yeah, already I feel like this looks a lot more aesthetically pleasing. And all I really did was came in, kind of started off with a basic shape, and then added things onto it until I kind of found what I was looking for. So yeah, I think this will look really cool. Let's kind of come up here, and I want these to be more of like a curve kind of thing. So, oh, I'm trying to like get the stairs to actually curve in. Y'all get to see this is how I actually build. I'm just struggling with the stairs the whole time. There we go. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Perfect. And I feel like having like a window here would look really good. I don't know. We'll figure this out. We'll figure out how we want to do this. But yeah, it's a lot of trial and error. You don't have to start off with like a finished idea. I think that's the major thing that holds a lot of people back as far as like making progress on your Minecraft builds. So let's kind of come over here, and then same sort of deal here. Stairs like that. Originally, I kind of wanted the I don't know, I kind of wanted the windows to be more like free standing, but I'm gonna kind of go with this just because I don't have glass right now, so I want to just make it look like this. I feel like this looks a lot better. All right, let's kind of come over here. Giving yourself perspective on a build definitely helps. So for me, I use a mod called FreeCam, which allows me to like kind of fly out of my body, fly out of my character's body a little bit, out of body experience. And it gives me, it gives me a better perspective, but you can obviously create a similar effect just by standing back and looking at your build. Look back at it. So this kind of area, this is such a weird sort of spot. I don't necessarily think I want a window here. Maybe I do though. Maybe I do. I think having a window right here would look kind of cool. So let's do that. Let's do a little window here. So same kind of thing, using stairs to sort of jut outward. And I think that'll make this section look a lot better. You can kind of see, I'm not quite sure how I want to do these. I think, I don't know. We're gonna figure this out. Nick, figure it out, babe. Get y'all thing together here. So I really want this sort of weird misshapen kind of section to be a balcony. I think that'd be really fun, especially like this being a tavern. Having like this upstairs balcony area would really go kind of tough. I can't even lie. I would drink here. I would drink here. I would do shots here. I'd be acting all kind of reckless in this building. So I do want the this deck to be wood. I think that would look really nice. So get you a little deck with a view. Get you a little thing with a view on the side. I don't think I'm coming in here unprepared. I don't have any materials, but you get the idea here. You get the idea. Maybe we can even make some windows on this side as well. Ooh, especially over the staircase. That would look really cool. Well, this is not even supposed to be a staircase. That's just for me to like get up here. There we go. Yeah, having these kind of windows here, that'd be really nice. This can be a doorway out. But yeah, I think having a wooden deck there would look really cool. And let's see what this looks like from the outside. I think having corner windows here would look kind of cool. That's kind of the only downside of having weird shaped buildings is sometimes there's a lot of like problem solving with building and finding something that looks nice. So don't be afraid to like problem solve. Don't be afraid to like do a lot of trial and error to figure it out. It's supposed to be that for me. That's what's really satisfying about Minecraft is the trial and error aspect of it. Finding that kind of look that you're going for. And at the end of the day, you have something really fun to sort of show off. You have this like very unique building that is visually appealing, and there's nothing better than that. So I feel like even adding just these very weird kind of staircases on the side, it makes this look a lot better. It gives it a much more interesting kind of look here. Maybe we could do it one block higher. Oops. Maybe we could do it one block higher. Let's see. Is that the same on that? I think that's the same height. I'm over here I'm doing quick math in my head. Yeah, there we go. Something like that. And same on this side with these kind of windows that I sort of placed down before. Adding these little overhangs just gives it a nice little look, I feel like. Just a lot of experimentation, a lot of playing with depth to things. That's how you're gonna make something that looks fantastic. So, ooh, let's see, same sort of thing here. Hop and free cam. Yeah, that's perfect actually. Now this window for me is kind of weird. I don't really want to build like a double wide window. For whatever reason. So we're going to leave that like that, but we can definitely come in here and sort of texture this to make it look a little bit better. I think having something that would stick out from the wall would look a lot better as well. So let's kind of come up here. We're going to figure this out together. How do we want to make this look? So I don't necessarily want another balcony here. But having this kind of thing jut out would look a little bit nicer. I just realized it's on the wrong block. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Not going to talk about that. We're not going to mention building it on the wrong block. See, even that, I feel like now having the window here doesn't look totally terrible. I can kind of do something like this, where you have these little indents here. It's a lot of texturing. It's a lot of experimenting with different ideas until you find that thing that really works for you. And I'm excited to actually be doing this sort of in this live kind of format, because I feel like it'll help kind of share my personal process behind things. And if nothing else, it'll give you something to kind of listen to in the background, maybe while you're maybe while you're doing homework or working on your own Minecraft world. That's really why I love making these live kind of videos. So I like the idea of this bottom thing overhanging, and then I like the idea of it kind of going back inward here. It just seems kind of cool to me. Makes it look a lot more visually interesting and appealing. So same thing sort of here. Playing with stairs, playing with slabs and things. Just a really easy way to make something more visually appealing. And like I said, starting off with something very basic and then thinking about decorating it rather than trying to build a finished product that's what really made it click for me personally. As far as like making things that look good and not being afraid to like experiment and make things that are just weird. I feel like I was saying before, there's so many YouTube videos out there that have like, and it's good to look at, you know, different builds online, but at the same time, I feel like it can be discouraging, especially if you're someone who's just starting off, to see like these amazing Minecraft builds and maybe you feel like your build isn't to that same level. But I honestly, you know, just think about like everybody starts off where you are. You know, not everyone doesn't come out like as an amazing builder. It's something you kind of have to work at. But at the end of the day, Minecraft is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a creative game where you can really express yourself and make something that's kind of special to you. But yeah, even this short little kind of thing that we did here, you can see the build looks a lot better and a lot more visually interesting. And the fact that the building is kind of this weird shape, I think, really adds to the aesthetic of it. I love kind of how the windows peek over these kind of spruce trees that I laid down around the perimeter here. And I'm kind of thinking this sort of area over here, if I walk over, is kind of like this oddity that I really love. Like, I used to build things and try to make them all perfect and neat, but sometimes it's weird stuff like this weird little overhang that I added with it's almost like a column on the side here, and the roof's not even gonna go all the way over here. But you know, just weird stuff like this, it makes the build a lot more interesting and just gives your build like a weird kind of charm. And this is kind of interesting, but seeing these sort of like exposed stone, I think I definitely want to do a pathway following along this mountain here, coming up here, and then I'm going to use these kind of stone, like seeing these reminds me of like garden pavers for some reason. So I'll kind of do these along the edge of the tavern here and then connect it back. And this is sort of like the unofficial entrance into my actual like village. So, but yeah, even the short time that we spent on this build, I think it looks way better. Just very simple things, experimenting with depth and things. And this roof up here, this is going to be kind of interesting. I'm not too sure what I want to do with the roof. It's going to be, I definitely want to have an attic space. I feel like having an attic in a tavern is kind of cool. Do like a bunch of cobwebs up there, like just make it interesting. To make the roof a lot more interesting, what I really want to do is add actual like kind of windows. I forget what the architectural name for that is, but where you have windows in the roof, kind of like. So we'll figure that out. I think I'm gonna go gather some glass so we can actually put the windows in. And I definitely need to get like way more spruce trees because your boy's running low. Your boy is running low on the spruce. Give this man some spruce. Get this man a script. He's yapping today. That boy yapping today. So I will do that and then come back to you guys. If you guys are interested in seeing more kind of yappy type videos, feel free to subscribe. This is mainly what I do. I love to make these long form yappy type videos that you can enjoy while you're eating food, studying, playing video games on your own. So with that being said, I think today, let's kind of come in here. I finally have a bunch of spruce trees, so let's come in here and actually start finishing the roof. It's kind of funny. I literally, like I was saying before, this roof was actually just like an app. Like this video was originally going to be sort of something else, and okay. So let's make a bunch of stairs. We're definitely, I honestly might be able to just turn all these into stairs. We're gonna need a bunch. Okay. So roofs for me always gave me the hardest time, but I'm just gonna kind of follow along what I have, give myself like a really basic sort of look, and then as I kind of have the roof finished, then we can actually come in here and start decorating it. So, you know, I personally apply this process of starting off basic and then coming in and decorating it. So pretty much everything. So as we can see here, let's get this first little kind of thing finished here. Okay, so this is going to be kind of a weird little spot here because the roof is kind of an uneven sort of thing. But I think we can make it work. I think we can make this work. But if you guys are working on any sort of Minecraft projects right now, or if you're playing other games, feel free to share your experiences with me, because I personally love reading everyone's experience, and I feel like it's such an honor for me when someone takes the time to share like what they're building or what they're working on, whether it's like school or art, whatever it is. I love hearing about that, so feel free to share that with me if you'd like. I think what we can actually do with this is I'm going to make this a half slab, and we can kind of connect it that way. And then same sort of thing here. Let's actually, oh yeah. This is gonna hit kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. This roof is gonna look kind of crazy, but it's gonna hit. I'm telling you. Trust the process here. Trust the process. Okay. So, like I was saying, I want to add sort of windows into the roof. I think that would look amazing, especially like you can kind of see the roof looks super plain because it's just really big. But if we come in here and actually add like the windows I was talking about, it'll look a lot better. So let's kind of give myself a little bit better of a perspective here. Actually, this needs to go over just one more. Maybe same with this, actually. And then let's kind of come in here. We can just... Perfect. And let's make ourselves a crafting table while we're up here. And we're gonna make just a stack of slabs here. But yeah, you can see now the roof kind of has this sort of window effect up the top here. Okay, same thing over here. Let's finish this side of the roof. Give myself like a nice little sort of walkway here. But yeah, constantly coming back, constantly sort of decorating what you have. This is how you're going to really make something that stands out. And like I was saying, it's such a generalized kind of tip sort of video, but the good thing with it being more generalized advice is you can really apply it to pretty much anything that you're building. So let me make sure I'm actually lined up here. For some reason, it's sometimes difficult for me to kind of mentally figure out where I'm at building wise. Okay. And then it was something like this. And my idea with these windows is they're going to be kind of like little skylights maybe. And now to make this side more interesting, instead of doing a triple window like that, I'm gonna do a bunch of singles, and I think that'll make this section look a lot more interesting. So let's kind of make sure we're actually in the building here. Make sure you're in the building. That always helps. Yeah, sort of something like this. How many am I over? Come over here. Oh, it's actually perfect. It lines up right underneath there. That's so sick. And then somewhere in the middle right here would look nice. Yeah, so here we go. And then gonna add these over that like that. Ooh, I just realized this is not in the center. But yeah, as you can kind of see, the roof definitely looks a lot more interesting now that we have these kind of single windows sticking out here. Maybe we'll have to do a double in this side right here. Let's see. Let me just kind of work this out a little bit. We might not even necessarily need a third window here. For some reason this doesn't really want to connect, but that's okay. There we go, perfect. Let's see, let's get rid of this crafting table and kind of come over here with the slabs. Throw those over the side. What do I want to do here? Maybe this could be maybe like a little balcony. That'd be kind of interesting. We could actually make this like a full block. That might kind of fix the sort of problem we're running into here. So lots of trial and error. Yeah, that's not really gonna do it. Let's go back to the original idea. And maybe this window will just have to be a little bit different. Just kind of different sort of look here. But you can see, even just adding like simple little cutouts into the roof, it makes it a lot more visually interesting. I think eventually I will just turn this into a balcony because I feel like having like a little access to the roof is kind of cool. All right, so we'll finish this window a little bit later. I think that's such a random little tip, but I feel like it's important. Like if you ever come to a point when you're building something and it kind of, you sort of can't quickly figure out how to solve the problem that you're trying to solve, it's always good to like just continue building somewhere else, and like, because you can always come back. It's not like you have to finish a building project right away. Like for example, like the house I was showing you guys at the beginning of the video, it's still not finished, but I wanted to, you know, it's something I can always come back to. So it's not like you have to finish things right away. It's okay to take your time with things. It's okay to, you know, just go with the flow of things here. So with this roof being such a weird kind of shape, it's definitely, I think it's gonna turn out really cool. And like I was saying, it's okay to build things that are weird. Like I don't think everything has to be super just amazing looking. Because for me, I personally love the way like some really old kind of Minecraft builds just look. So this part of the roof is going to be kind of interesting here. I'm going to kind of come in here. Let me quickly turn up the brightness. I typically play on moody brightness just because I feel like it kind of fits the sort of aesthetic that I love. It reminds me of like beta versions of Minecraft when everything was like super dark. But for the sake of the video, I think it looks a lot nicer if it's actually bright and you guys can see what I'm doing. So with this roof, as weird as it is, how do I want to do this actually? It's gonna, we are totally freestyling this right now. We are totally freestyling this right now. Here we go. Maybe that's kind of what I was looking for right there. Perfect. Nice. And then seeing kind of this open space reminds me of maybe like, maybe a huge sort of skylight would be kind of cool. I don't know though. We'll come back to that idea. We'll come back to that as needed. But yeah, starting off with like the basic roof, and then I'll come in later and actually decorate it, like put the windows in sort of where I think they would look good, and that's generally how I do everything. So now we have like this really wacky kind of roof. I think it looks so cool actually. This looks really cool. So, something I've always sort of had naturally is just the ability to kind of look at something and see if like it looks right or if there's something I can add. But I do think that's sort of a skill you can sort of learn. Like the longer you play, it's good to trust your instincts. Like if you see something that you think looks kind of weird, like trust how you feel about it. Trust like, oh, okay, I can add something here and it'll make it look a lot better. So with this kind of part, I'm honestly thinking maybe we could do, I'm debating on between like a really long window here or like multiple small windows. But I know for sure on this side I can definitely do a smaller window. Let's see, is that kind of the right height? I think that is, so let's come here. Same kind of thing. Oops, fill that in. Fill that in. See, so now this section looks a lot better with that window here. And I think that should be the right height. That should be the right height. I think it'd be kind of cool to have like corner windows, but I have no idea how I would do that. That is like, that's beyond my level of building. Yeah, those are definitely, I almost want them to sort of match the windows below it. Maybe we will have to go with the longer window here. Yeah, I think maybe a longer and larger window might kind of fit this sort of look right here. So let's come over here. Yeah, that'll look really good. It'll kind of jut out a little bit. So yeah, don't be afraid to like experiment with different ideas. I feel like this is how you get just amazing kind of results here. Yeah, perfect. That'll look really good. The wider window is definitely the way to go with that. And it gives the roof more depth, more interesting sort of a look here. I wonder if there's a way I can like trick this stair into staying like that, but maybe not. Yeah, doesn't really want to. That's okay though. Cool. So I feel like the roof is mostly done. Kind of has the look I was going for here. Sort of interesting. Okay, now we need to actually get glass, so let's kind of come down here. I tend to do my exteriors before my interiors because I feel like once I sort of have a shell of a building, it's a lot easier to come in here and then actually decorate around what I have. So I just realized that window's at the wrong height, but that's okay. Not a big deal here. We can always come in here and sort of change it to what we need. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that'll be really cool. We can kind of have like a skylight right there. Same sort of thing with these windows. And then actually, let's get to work on this sort of deck on this side, like I was saying earlier. Make this like a deck that kind of overhangs everything. Here we go. And then we can actually come in here with the slabs, and there we go. Super cool. Yeah, that looks really awesome. I love that. And I'm kind of like debating doing something like that. Debating it. I don't know. I don't really know about that one. I think that looks fine though. I kind of like this weird little overhang thing that we got going on here. Dude, I'm just saying, I would chill out at this tavern if I was here. I'm just saying. Yeah, nice little thing here. Nice little view over the water, over like the village that's down there. And then these are going to be kind of like corner windows. Yeah, this is cool. Let's kind of come in. Let's go down to my base again and grab some glass, and then we can actually start filling things in. So what's kind of interesting about this world is it's all sort of interconnected. Like flying through here, you can sort of see I tried to keep everything like really connected so that way I could easily maneuver around the base. I personally am like a huge fan of the elytra, so I love to just sort of elytra around my base and like loop around and things. But at the same time, this base you can also walk everywhere if you'd like, so it sort of just depends on the mood I'm in, if I want to use the elytra, if I don't want to use it. So let's grab all 3 stacks here. And I think I can actually turn this back down to moody, which I personally love. You can kind of see how big of a difference turning the brightness, adjusting the brightness really affects how the world looks. And the same with smooth lighting. Like personally, I have smooth lighting off just because I love the sort of nostalgic kind of look it gives for me. It really reminds me of like the alpha versions of Minecraft. So I personally have it off, but you know, you don't need shaders to find the sort of look that you like going for. Actually, with that being said, let's turn shaders back on just for a little bit. So you can kind of see it gives, with these shaders, the things just have more bloom, gives everything kind of like a soft fantasy sort of look. And I absolutely love how this tavern kind of looks. This looks absolutely fantastic. And I'm literally so excited that that I could like share this with you and share these like moments with you, because it was always kind of difficult for me to sort of share my building process. Like most of this world was built off camera. So I love being able to share like my actual building process with you in a live kind of format here. Oh, this is gonna look so cool. This is gonna look so cool. So you can kind of if we come out here and kind of see, I love this. I love this little like weird kind of overhang. You have this like little negative space above the window. It just gives like depth to everything. And same with this. Come out here, kind of bring that in a little bit. Gives the windows like a nice, cool sort of look. I'm like debating if I actually... Ooh, you know what? Doing that by accident really... That just gave me a really cool idea. Maybe we could do something like this, where the windows are kind of staggered. That actually looks really cool. I love that. I have literally my whole style is just winging it and then kind of slowly figuring it out. Like that just literally happened right then. That whole idea. So, same kind of thing here. Let's see. I really like the idea of like the staggered windows. So now that even that has like additional depth to the windows. Makes it a little bit more interesting. I think for this wall being so plain, on the bottom section here, I could totally do maybe some vines kind of overhanging there. You know, it's just adding depth to things is literally the key to everything. I've said that probably 100 times. Someone's gonna count it. Someone's gonna count it. Like, Nick, you literally said that 100 times. But yeah, this looks fantastic. And with the shaders on, it looks really cool. But again, giving yourself sort of this like base kind of look and then turning on shaders. You have to have like a good look to begin with. Shaders aren't gonna make your builds any better or any worse. I don't know about these windows up here. I almost want them to be like actually in the building. Let's see how this kind of looks. And then maybe out here I could do like flower pots or something. Yeah. These look way better when they're actually in here. Like, not everything has to be like the same. Not everything has to kind of stick out. And same with this. These kind of windows here. Yeah, that looks a lot better. I could actually sort of repeat the same sort of window down here. Yeah, or actually maybe this window could actually be the one that sticks out. How do I have this? It's something like this. Perfect. So now all the bottom floor windows kind of have this similar, like, sliding window theme. That's actually perfect. That's literally perfect. And then kind of looking at this area is a little bit plain. So maybe I could do the vines on this side as well, kind of overhanging everything. But yeah, this tavern is turning out really cool. And I'm really excited that I was able to share the actual building process with you in real time. So let's come up here and actually finish the windows. This part's going to be kind of interesting. You know what? We do need to make a some chests, so let's make a double chest here. Just so we can kind of store things and yeah, here we go. Kind of clean up our inventory just a tiny bit here. And actually, I'm thinking for the attic, we can actually make the floor like slabs instead of like full blocks. That'd be kind of interesting here. And the reason I want to do slabs for the attic is because so that way we can leave the attic kind of dark, but mobs still won't be able to spawn up there. That's kind of my like thought process behind that. So yeah, this is going to be really, really cool. Come over here, do this sort of thing. And it gives it more space as well. It makes the attic not feel so claustrophobic. Something I've really been experimenting with a lot recently is actually playing with like light levels and things. I feel like sometimes it gives the world a much more interesting kind of feel when it's not so well lit up. I'm thinking something like this. We can actually have the attic space over here like kind of open. Like if you come into the entranceway, maybe kind of have it open to the air here. Okay, so we actually do need more slabs. Grab all these, perfect. Kind of doing this like the ugly way, but it'll work. It'll work. All right, let's actually start filling in this floor here. Yeah, originally, like, as I was building this, I was going to have the attic kind of, like, closed off. But I do want to have this window actually open. So, let's kind of figure this out together here. Does that work? I think that works. Yeah, and then kind of fill this in. But yeah, since the attic can stay dark, it's not gonna, like, you'll be able to see the skylight, but it won't be like so lit up here. So it's kind of, it just adds sort of depth to everything. Playing with lighting, playing with depth, obviously is how you're gonna make things look really good. So let's kind of fill this in here. Same sort of thing here. I really like the open air concept. I think this is gonna look really cool. So yeah, now the attic doesn't have to be so super well lit up. It can just kind of be this little thing here. Okay. Maybe we could do just a couple of lanterns up here. But I don't really want to overdo it. So you can kind of see it's not... I don't know. But if we come down here, I kind of like the idea of having like that skylight over everything. Maybe the attic space could even be just more of like a storage room. So I'll put like a bunch of barrels up here. And I never actually showed this before, but well, as I was building this, I found this kind of like, so this is like the basement level if we come down here. And I want to make this room like kind of like the wine cellar. So I'll have like huge like casks, I think is, why is there a cow down here? I want to have like huge casks down here, like all wood, everything really cool. But this cave actually kind of wraps out into kind of like this open space that I have. So this just looks so cool. I'm really excited for how this is looking right now. Oh yeah. So I definitely want to come in here with like vines and things and actually start doing a little bit of landscaping. I think that would do us some good. Landscaping's never a bad idea, fellas. Alright, so now we have like a good amount of spruce leaves. I'll probably need more, but this is a good start. Another thing I kind of want to add is if we come down here, this is sort of like a ruined castle that I absolutely adore. And with the tavern like overlooking this looks so cool actually. But I do want to like get like a beehive over here. I think for some reason I like adding beehives around my builds. I think it adds like a kind of little liveliness to everything. So yeah, this kind of section, let's kind of come down here. Something like this. This is going to be kind of like a bushy kind of spot over here. There we go, but you can kind of see, just adds like a nice depth to everything. And it really fills out this space so it doesn't look so plain. And I think I honestly want to do the same thing on this corner. So maybe kind of come down here, something like that. There we go. And maybe like that actually. That looks really cool. It's kind of weird to build at like an off angle like this, but it does work. It does work. Perfect. Yeah, so I'll probably do a little bit better of a job with the shrubs and things here, but generally speaking with the kind of like landscaping like this, I like to make things like sort of uneven just because I feel like it makes it look a lot more natural. Something like this. I can actually get rid of this and then there we go. Perfect. So yeah, playing with like leaves, sort of landscaping, that's another good way to make something look really nice without a whole lot of like additional effort, I feel like. I'm just gonna kind of come in here and sort of do what I feel like. Something like this. And maybe we can kind of add like an overhang right here with like leaves. That'd be kind of interesting. I don't know though. I'm not too sure how I want to do this actually, but we can definitely come in here and do something like this. I don't know why this would be growing like this, but hey, you know what? It is what it is. I don't know, just makes it like a little bit more interesting. Same with like kind of bushes around here. Maybe we could do something like this. Yeah, just lots of experimenting around. For me, I think landscaping is like a really easy way to make your builds kind of stand out. And it makes the world a lot more lively. Maybe up here to kind of make these look a little bit better, I could actually add like mossy cobblestone. I think that would look really cool. That would definitely do us some good here. And maybe, I was kind of thinking, we could do like vines kind of overhanging here. This is like definitely sort of a weird little look here, but I think it could work. I think that might be it right there, honestly. Sort of overhang. No, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Cooking right now. We cooking, babe. We are cooking right now when we did this. Sheesh. Sheesh. No, hold on a minute. Dude, I'm so proud of how this is turning out. This is so sick. Low-key, when I started this video, I was like, how am I gonna do this? But, no, let him cook. Just do your thing, babe, honestly. Sheesh. Sheesh. Yeah. Like this. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yep. Nah, here we go. We're good. We good. That looks so freaking good. No, hold on a second. Who let him cook like that? And then kind of this area up here looks a little bit plain, so maybe we could play around with more upside down stairs up there to kind of fill that space in. Is this what is this? A zombie? What is going on here? Get away from my tavern here. I'm just saying, I think this looks fantastic. And we could do definitely the same thing over here with the vines kind of overhanging, but I feel like with the way it sort of looks with the vines down here, we don't necessarily need the vines hanging off the window on that side. But let's give it like a quick little fly around here. No, the vines off the windowsill, that's hitting. That is hitting right now. Oh my gosh. Jeez, I'm just saying. Well, anyways, hopefully you guys kind of enjoyed this more like laid back kind of live look at how I go about creating something that's aesthetically pleasing. And if nothing else, hopefully this video was somewhat relaxing for you and gave you kind of ideas that you could, oh wait, I didn't even finish these windows, but hopefully it gave you guys some inspiration and sort of helped you come up with your own aesthetic build ideas. If you guys enjoy this sort of more yappy, laid back type of content, feel free to subscribe and always feel free to share your guys' experiences with me. I love reading them. That's it. See you guys next time.